Hello everyone. In continuation with our topic, we start with a discussion on discrete event system simulation here. A discrete event system simulation is the model of a system in which state variable changes only at a discrete set of points in times. So that is only the changes occur at some specified point of time, not always. The simulation models are analyzed by numerical rather than by analytical models or analytical methods. So numerically we are going to solve the problems in the discrete event system simulations. So analytical methods employ the deductive reasoning of mathematics to solve the model. Example, differential calculus can be used to determine the minimum cost policy for some inventory models. But here we are going to make use of numerical methods in order to simulate the system. Numerical methods use computational procedures and are runs which is generated based on the model assumption, and observations are collected to be analyzed and to estimate the true system performance measures. So here in the numerical methods we are going to compute the procedures. Computational procedures will be carried out in order to check for the performance of the system, and also in order to check the estimate the true system performance measures. Real world simulation is so vast whose runs are conducted with the help of computer. Much insight can be obtained by simulation manually, which is applicable for small small systems, we can tell. So here the real world simulation is so vast whose runs are conducted with the help of the computer. We are making use of the computer in order to check with the performance of the real time system. So this is about the discrete event simulation. So first, in the simulation study we are having different steps. Here we have 12 steps. So how a system is going to be built and how a systems model is going to be built, that is here we are talking mainly about the simulation model. So how the simulation model is going to be built. So it consists of 12 different steps. So we'll see one by one. So first step is problem formulation. So before going to build any model of any system, then we have to be particular about what actually the system is. So what type of simulation has to be done, how it has to be done. So the problem, what is the problem, for that problem what is the answer or the solution. So everything should be noted down first. Second step is setting of objectives and overall project plan. So first, once the problem has been formulated, once we are thorough or once we are clear with the problem, then the next step is setting of the objectives of how we are going to plan for the project or the simulation to be done. So first thing, like how many members are required, what is the time, estimated time in order to complete the given project. So everything will be taken care in this step, that is setting of objectives and overall project plan. And the next step, after objectives have been set and all the overall plan has been made, then the next step is model conceptualization. So conceptually how the model looks, how it has to look, so everything will be done with the help of this in this step. So once the model has been conceptualized, then the fourth step is data collection. So previously, like it may depend on in the system, if there are already there is an existing system, then some historical data will be available for the system. So that data has to be collected. So once it is collected, then the system is ready. So model translation. So the conceptual model has to be translated into the computer model, that is by using some of the simulation languages which we know. So with that help, with the help of those simulation languages, we can go for the translation of the model. So once the model has been uploaded in a computer with the help of the system simulation language, then we are going for the verification part, and we are going to check with the whether the system model is matching with the actual system or no. Then it is going to be validated. Then the experimental designs, what are the experimental designs required in order to check whether the our system or our model is a replica of the real time system. Then production runs and analysis. So what are the for different inputs, what are the different outputs we are going to obtain, we are going to analyze everything in this step. Then more runs. So if any again if different inputs have to be given for in order to check with the other other outputs, then we are going for this more runs. Documentation and reporting. So here this is the main part. If we are going for the documentation and reporting for each and every step, what are the progress has been done, so that has to be documented and also has to be report has to be done. Report has to be maintained, and here project report and everything has to be documented properly. So once it is documented, then implementation part, if everything is going on well, if everything has been done correctly, then we go for the implementation of a real-time system. So this is about the steps in a simulation study. So there are 12 different steps. Once again, we'll see what are the different steps. Problem formulation, setting of the objectives and overall project plan, model conceptualization, data collection, model translation, verified, validated, experimental design, product runs and analysis, more runs, documentation and reporting, and last part is implementation. So here we can see the graphical or the diagrammatical picture of the simulation study. First step is problem definition, setting of the objectives and the overall project plan. Here how the flow occurs. So for once the project plan is ready, then we go for model conceptualization and data collection at a time. Then once these two are done, then we go for the model translation. Then if it is verified and validated, if yes, both are yes, then it will go for the experimental design part, or else again once again it has to go for the model conceptualization and also model translation. So after this experimental designs, then production runs and the analysis has to be performed. Then if more runs are required, yes means again it will be coming to the next step, or else again it will go to the documentation and the reporting part. Then at last is the implementation part. So this is about the steps in the simulation study and the flow chart which is related to the steps in the simulation study. So once the steps we know, then we'll move on to some of the examples which are related to the simulation. So here we have simulation of a queuing system. One example which we are considering is a queuing system. So queuing system is nothing but there will be a queue formed by the customers, and the people has to be will be checked, and they will be waiting in a queue until the server is providing the service. So here a queuing system is described by its calling population, the nature of its arrivals, the service mechanism, the system capacity, and the queuing discipline. So in the diagram we can see here there is a calling population, and there is a waiting line and a server who will serve the customers, those who arrive. So for example, we can consider a inventory system or a grocery shop. So where we are going for a shop, and we will be forming a queue. Once we purchase all the items, then we go for the billing. In billing we have to form a queue until and unless the billing person or the server will ask us, like our turn comes, we have to be waiting in a line, and he will be servicing one by one. So this is first come first serve order. So simulation is often used in the analysis of the queuing models. In a simple typical queuing model is shown here. So we can see there is a calling population, waiting line, and a server. So once it is served, then again the people, those who are waiting in the queue, the customers, they will be moved to the calling population. So here we have simulation of the queuing systems Then in this again we are going through with there are different types of queuing systems: single channel queue and double channel queue and multi channel queues. So we are going first with the single channel queue. In the single channel queue, the calling population will always be infinite. That is, if a unit leaves the calling population and joins the waiting line or enters a service, there is no change in the arrival rate of other units that may need service. So here always the